The Israeli military assassinated Al Jazeera staff Anas al-Sharif, Mohammed Kreka, Ibrahim Zahir, Mohammed Nufal, and Moamen Aliwa, and freelance reporter Mohammed al-Khaldi on Sunday, August 10, 2025. These murders violate international law and are another horrible example of the level of destruction and depravity the Israeli government is willing to stoop to in order to continue the genocide of the Palestinian people and expand their borders as an ethno-nationalist apartheid state. These murders add to the already growing number of aid workers and journalists that the Israeli military has murdered and lengthens their impossibly long list of war crimes and crimes against humanity. The killing of journalists is prohibited by international law. Article 79 of Additional Protocol 1 to the Geneva Convention establishes the protection of journalists in combat zones. It specifically designates journalists as civilians and non-combatants who are not designated as valid military targets. The Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court categorizes the intentional attack of all civilians not participating in hostilities, which does include journalists, to be a war crime. Israel, despite performative condemnation from Western nations and warnings from human rights organizations, has a long history of killing civilians in Gaza, which includes aid workers and journalists. Since October 7, 2023, UNRWA has reported that 408 aid workers have been killed, including more than 280 UNRWA staff. You would think committing such horrible crimes would at least shame the Israeli military into some sense of covert operation to prevent making headlines about these actions. While this almost certainly does happen, as there are crimes committed by the Israeli government that do not make headlines and become lost in the nightmarish history and present-day action of this genocidal settler colony, they also openly target aid workers in a very public fashion. On April 1, 2024, Israeli military drones targeted an aid convoy that belonged to the World Central Kitchen and killed 7 aid workers in Gaza. These workers were transferring food supplies to a warehouse, given that there had been a famine in Gaza that has been entirely of Israel's making. The location of these workers were communicated with the Israeli military in advance, yet they were still targeted. Not only did the Israeli government kill these aid workers, but they did so in order to further the famine in Gaza, utilizing starvation as a weapon of war, which is designated as a war crime. More than 240 journalists and 30 media workers have been killed in the same time period, though this number is now higher due to Israel's latest string of assassinations, and given these recent events, the war crimes continue. On Sunday, August 10, 2025, the Israeli government assassinated 5 Al Jazeera journalists and media workers, as well as a freelance reporter through the use of a drone attack. Here are their names again: Anas al-Sharif, Mohammed Kreka, Ibrahim Zahir, Mohammed Nufal, Moamen Aliwa, Mohammed al-Khaldi. Perhaps most well known amongst this group was Anas al-Sharif. Anas al-Sharif was a Palestinian journalist who is most known for his consistent documentation and frontline reporting from northern Gaza. The reporting and images that he and his team were able to capture that documented the savagery of the Israeli military and the humanity of the Palestinian people won his team a Pulitzer Prize for breaking news photography. He, like all journalists who risked their lives in Palestine to advocate for the Palestinian people and bring light to the crimes of the Israeli military, was a beacon of truth and clarity for horrors that are difficult to talk and think about. Israel committed this assassination with the reasoning that Anas al-Sharif was a member of Hamas, but there's been no credible evidence to support this claim, and has largely been rejected as a lie by organizations like Al Jazeera and the Committee to Protect Journalists. These assassinations were condemned by many countries all over the world, as well as many human rights organizations and news outlets. These recent assassinations continue a long trend of war crimes committed by the Israeli government and military. The loss of so many innocent lives at the hands of the Israeli military is unforgivable, and it can become easy to become nihilistic when facing an issue like this. Sometimes it seems like there is no changing the horrors that are happening. To counteract this feeling of apathy, I would turn you to the last will and testament of Anas al-Sharif that was posted onto his Twitter account. Reading the words of someone who was so recently and violently killed can seem like a haunting idea, and perhaps in a way it is. But the words that Anas al-Sharif chose are inspiring and speak to the character that he was recognized for around the world. He begins by wishing peace upon the readers of the message and expresses his life goal of being a support and voice for his people. His last message is one of solidarity and focus. He urges the reader not to let chains silence you, and to be bridges towards liberation of the land and its people. He entrusts the reader to take care of my family, and he tells us, do not forget about Gaza. Reading through all these horrific crimes is difficult enough, but it sometimes feels unbearable when you contextualize the individual humanity of the victims of these crimes. But if we are to take the last will and testimony of Anas al-Sharif to heart, we'll see that apathy is not the way. It's okay to care, it's good to care. We can remember and honor those who fell victim to the murder and horror of the Israeli government by reading their words, by not forgetting them, by remembering that a better day can come. And all of us can play a role in advocating and working for that better day for Palestine and its people. I've listed some nonprofits that are great to get involved with in order to work towards that better day. Please keep believing and working for that day.